Welcome to the Faith Unbuttoned podcast. This podcast is an extension of Never Alone Christian Center and has been specifically designed to make faith transparent and relevant to everyday life. What's up? I don't know about you, but as usual, I am excited to join you all tonight on the Faith Unbuttoned podcast. Tonight we're in episode number 9 and we're moving into a new subject matter. The last several episodes, or last 8 episodes, have been dealing with the lazy man, the lazy woman, and lazy children. And tonight we're transitioning into another avenue entitled, Is Pre-Marital Counseling Really Necessary? But before I get there, I want to see how you guys are doing. Drop a message in the chat, drop a comment, a DM, or a message. Let me know what's been going on throughout the course of your week, and let me know what you think about the Faith Unbuttoned podcast. And many of you all have asked, where's your wife? Where's Miss Wiley? And don't worry, she's here. She's fine. And she will be back joining me soon. And also, I'm going to get an opportunity and bring Kalia and Kenton II on. That should be interesting. We're going to talk about their school year during the pandemic because our children were actually in the classroom, and they had a few situations where they had classmates test positive and they had to come home and be quarantined for the 10 days or 14 days. And I want to get an idea what their experience was like on a raw platform from a 12-year-old and 10-year-old. So we will get there. But once again, I'm Pastor K. This is the Faith Unbuttoned podcast. As you know, this is the NAC experience. And our goal is to keep faith transparent, or make faith transparent and relevant to everyday life. And if you don't know, obviously today is Friday, but this Sunday, we are launching our first virtual services. Yay! Clap, 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 clap. We have been waiting, and I am so excited because I know not only does the Lord have a word, but it is about the word, and it's about getting people saved and all of that good stuff. But I'm excited to present the NAC experience to you guys. I'm excited to share with you all and your encouragement, and you guys have just been so wonderful to my wife and I. And your love and your support has been overwhelming, and we are just honored for opportunity to just do what it is God has called us to do. It's nothing like knowing when you're operating in purpose. When it comes to the podcast, when it comes to Sunday, or it comes to or Sunday, it comes to Wednesday, and the BTS, which is behind the scripture, or anything that I do with Never Alone Christian Center, I know that I'm in purpose. And I know that I can just flow and do what it is, and I'm comfortable doing what God has called my wife and I to do. So this Sunday, we'll be streaming at 8 o'clock, 10 o'clock, and noon, and at 6 p.m. all Eastern Standard Time. The services will stream on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. You can go from Instagram directly to the broadcast, and also on our website, which is right here at the bottom. All right, enough of that. On to what we're talking about tonight. Again, episode number 9. Is premarital counseling really necessary? Now, we have made it clear, or I believe I've made it clear, that my wife and I, we've been married for 14 years, and we have 2 children. And yes, we did go through premarital counseling. It lasted about 10 months, I believe. We were having about a class every other week. That was the structure that we had with our schedule. And after that, we got engaged after premarital class. And then a year later, or maybe 9 or 10 months later, my wife got to quote the time, we got married. Okay, so that was the process that we took. We took the process of being in a relationship, going through premarital, getting engaged, getting married. That's the process that we took, and it worked for us. Is it the perfect process? Is it necessarily the right process? This is a judgment-free zone. That's the process that we took to get to marriage and our relationship, and it has worked for us. So I speak and teach based upon what has worked for us, okay? So that has worked for us. So yes, we did premarital class. Do I think premarital class was important? Do I think it was a necessity for the relationship? I do. And I think my wife would agree, because I think it gave us an opportunity to see each other from God's perspective and to really understand what marriage is about from God's perspective, because at the end of the day, we're Christians, okay? So we look at marriage from a Christian perspective. So we want to know, what does God, or how does God view marriage? And we talk about premarital counseling, and we ask the question, is it really necessary? Then I say yes. Okay, but a lot of people feel like, well, I don't think it's necessary, and they feel like that they know people who've gone through premarital counseling, or maybe they have, and the relationship didn't work. And as I said early on in this podcast throughout the course of the week, doing the advertisement portion, is I look at premarital counseling like getting your driver's license. You go to driver's education school, you do the road test, you get your driver's license, and then you drive, okay? So millions of people get their driver's license, but also millions of people get in accidents on the highway. That doesn't negate the fact that driver's education school should be counseled. It just means that nothing is perfect. And counseling or a premarital class, however you want to phrase it, is not meant to make the marriage perfect. It's not necessarily meant to make the marriage flawless, but the purpose of premarital counseling, or the purpose should be, which we're going to get into tonight, is to give the marriage an opportunity to succeed, if that is the heart's desire of the parties involved in the marriage. All right. Now, You guys know, or if you don't know, that I am big on family, okay? I'm big on strong families. As a pastor, obviously, I understand the importance of the family unit. I understand the importance of the family pack, if you will. And I understand that everyone doesn't have the cookie cutter family with the mom and the dad, the boy and the girl, the children, and the dog and the fence. Okay, we get it, okay? Families are structured different these days. There are a lot of blended families. There are a lot of interracial families, okay? So we understand that there are a lot of different type of families in the world and in society, in our culture in 2021, all right? So to take the philosophy of the typical family from the 60s, 70s, and 80s would just be very challenging in 2021. So as a pastor and through this Faith Unbuttoned podcast, to be transparent, we have to look at the structure of the modern day family, which may not look like it looked 15, 20 years ago. Now, I believe a strong family unit, not only in the body of Christ, but in society, is capable of producing generational success. Now, these are all the precursors I want to talk about before I get to, is premarital counseling really necessary? Now, it may take us maybe 3 podcasts to get through this, because I really want you to be able to make a rational, informed decision of whether or not you feel premarital counseling is really necessary. Okay, so I believe that strong families are capable of producing generational success. Now, notice how I said that, because we often hear the term generational wealth. And generational wealth is a positive thing. But wealth does not always constitute successful living. Okay? It doesn't take long to Google many wealthy people who have committed suicide, rest their souls. So don't equate wealth to success. Now, when I talk about successful living, I am specifically referring to living a wholesome life, balanced spiritually and naturally. In our upcoming BTS, which is Behind the Scripture, which is our version of Bible study, I'm going to be talking about living a balanced life, spiritually and naturally. So when I talk about successful living, we have to ask ourselves the question, are we living a balanced life spiritually and naturally? So when I say a strong family is capable of producing generational success, I am saying that a strong family who has good counsel and has a good foundation can produce a generation of children, a generation of future husbands and wives that are balanced spiritually and naturally. Okay? So we have to look at it like my wife and I, we are millennials, okay? So we are at the forefront of the millennials. So we understand the balance. Now our parents grew up, they had good jobs, they took care of us, and we lived a good life. But they hand over generational wealth to us? The answer to that question is no. Okay? So the reality of it is, though many of us want to pass down generational wealth, most of us have to settle for passing down generational success. So we have to pass down generational success, and then through that success, our children will progress into being wealthy or progress into being well off in life. But we have a better chance of not only educating them with the idea of finances, if you will, and academics, but we also have a due diligence to pass down to them generational success, which means a good work ethic, a good character, a good commitment to their career, to their academics, and to the things that they get involved in life. So when we talk about, is premarital counseling really necessary, you have to ask yourself the question, like my wife and I did, is the foundation that I am trying to prepare in my life important to me? Because if your foundation that you're trying to prepare to build your marriage upon is important, then this, without a doubt, is essential to the development of the relationship. Now listen, so when we think about the modern family, listen, let's face the facts. Many relationships have been playing house way before marriage, and premarital counseling is really an afterthought. I get it. It's 2021. In the DMV area, the Baltimore area, Philadelphia area, this tri-state region area, and many other areas in the country, a studio apartment might cost you almost $2,000. It's hard to live on your own. It's hard. You can have a good job and literally have to live in poor-like situations because you can't afford to live in an area that may be sufficient. Okay, so I get it. Okay, I'm not agreeing with shacking up is what we called it when I was growing up. Living together before you're married. But I am a realist. Okay, I am Pastor K in 2021. I understand a lot of people, and I dare to say most couples, Christian and non-Christian, wherever they are in life, live together before they get married. Okay, they play house is what I was when I grew up. What they call it, playing house before they got married. So premarital counseling is really an afterthought. Now, I'm not saying people who don't live together and go through premarital counseling, get married, and have a great marriage. That happens. It absolutely happens. I've married people in those conditions. Okay, now I had rules and regulations along that if you guys are going to live together, I would ask that they would abstain from sexual activity while they're going through counseling. And those were requests that I had because I wanted to make sure that God could speak without interference. And we'll get that later on. Okay. So this is not a segment in the podcast of judging. So don't look at this as judging. I'm just facing the facts, okay? It's a moment of transparency. I believe that many relationships may not have made it to the altar if premarital counseling was introduced before the house was purchased, before the cars, before the kids, before the lavish vacations. See, we have done all of these things. We've bought the house, we've gotten the cars, we have the kids, we've done the lavish vacations, and now we're waiting on the engagement ring, and now we're ready to get married. We put all the as we say, the cart before the horse. And this is not judgment, this is transparency. Now, okay, this is a transparent moment, and then we get married and we wonder why there are so many struggles in the relationship, because we put all of these things before we had an opportunity to lay a spiritual foundation. Now, a lot of people may think this is old school talk, man. Look, yeah, we love each other. We're going to live together. We get married, cool. If we don't, cool. God loves us. We love God. You know, Jesus got our back. And listen, I'm not here for the argument. That's not why I'm here. My role is simply to introduce or explain the perspective that I believe God sees as best for us. Okay? So it's absolutely not a moment to be critical or judgmental. This is definitely a moment of just being transparent. So when you think about the struggles that may be in your relationship, or you may be enduring in your marriage, could they have possibly been addressed and solved in premarital counseling before they came up in year 5, year 6, or the 5th month or the 6th month in the marriage? I believe that many issues that have led to divorce, separation, split households, in my opinion, many of the struggles that happen in relationships and happen in marriages 5 years, 10 years, 15, 20 years, 30 years in a marriage. We're seeing people who've been married for 30 years calling the quits. Now, many believe, and I am an advocate, and I believe that a lot of times people stay in relationships for years and years and years because they don't feel as if there's an out. They don't feel as if they feel like they are now dependent upon this relationship for their housing, for their food, for raising their children, for the developing life. They feel like they're so intertwined that they're stuck. Marriage was never designed to feel like or look like bondage. Where have we missed it? Where have we missed it when it comes to marriage? Where marriage feels like, we use terms like, I'm just stuck. I can't leave him. I can't leave her. We in it forever. I know he cheating. I know she cheating. We just make it work. We got to do what's best for the kids. Okay, I hear you. Where have we missed it where this is now acceptable behavior? Is God pleased? I can attest for God and say God's not pleased, but God is merciful and God shows grace. Okay? So is premarital counseling necessary or really necessary? Now, I believe there are 3 areas that are critical when talking about this subject matter. And we're going to talk about those 3 areas. Now, the first thing we want to talk about is, what is premarital counseling? Now, let's look at this term. See, counsel or counseling has been viewed as such a negative term. We assume when someone says they need counsel or counseling, we assume that means something is wrong. That is not always the case. Counsel does not constitute problems. Let's look at the term counsel or counseling as the provision of assistance or guidance. So when we talk about premarital counseling is designed to be assistance and guidance for the new relationship progression forward. Now, that does not mean something is wrong with the man or something is wrong with the woman. It's simply a roadmap, or should be a guidance for a relationship. When we talk about premarital counseling, I believe it should consist of three things. The first thing premarital counseling should consist of, well, let me stop. Premarital counseling can't be done in 30 minutes or an hour with your pastor, your overseer, your bishop, or counselor, whoever is doing your premarital counseling, in my humble opinion. I've talked to couples and I say, have you done premarital counseling? Yeah, we sat and talked with the pastor for about 30, 45 minutes and he thought everything was cool, and boom, we got married, and boom, you got divorced. Listen, effective premarital counsel may take a few weeks or a couple of months. If you want, let's just use an extreme example. What is 1 year of counseling once a week or every other week if it will help your marriage last 100 years, to be extreme? What is it? Why is that so hard? Now, I understand you're ready to get married, you're ready to do your thing, you're ready to jump on into a relationship, and you're ready to be a mom, you're ready to be a dad, and you're ready to raise kids and travel the world and do all those type of things. And look, I am all about it. I love marriage. I'm all about it. But let me tell you, there's nothing more miserable than being married to somebody that you can't stand. Because we don't want to take a moment in time to go through premarital counseling. Now, premarital counseling doesn't have to be done in a church. It can be natural counseling. Everything doesn't have to be super spiritual, super over anointed, and all that type of stuff. It could be natural counseling. Now, I recommend spiritual counseling because I think marriage is a natural thing, but I believe it's also a spiritual thing. Naturally, you fill out your marriage license certificate, you exchange rings, you exchange vows, you get married before the people, and then you're legally married based upon the state that you live in. Spiritually speaking, the Bible teaches that you become one. The woman takes on the man. You become one in the eyes of Christ. So marriage is a natural thing and a spiritual thing. So I think it's critical that if you're going to get spiritual counseling, that whoever's giving spiritual counseling can also give you an understanding of the natural side as well. And they're not so super spiritual that they can't give you some of the natural things. Now, that's just my humble opinion. The first thing, what is premarital counseling? Premarital counseling should consist of fair ground. When we talk about premarital counseling, whoever is doing the counseling, it must be fair ground. That means no party in the relationship should feel forced to participate. If you got to drag the brother in there or drag the sister in there, we already got a problem. They already fighting against guidance. If they're fighting against guidance now, they're going to fight against guidance later after you have gone down the order. Listen, getting married is not magic. It may feel like a magical day. You got your nice limousine, or, if you're fancy, you got your robe, your dress, and you're dolled up. You got the nice reception. Oh, it's a magical, magical, magical day. But let me tell you, it's not magic. It's work. It is work where you have to clock in every day. So it has to consist of fair ground. Is premarital counseling really necessary? It has to consist of fair ground. Nobody should feel forced to participate. Remember, marriage is a choice, not an obligation. at least in the American culture. The man must be able to speak freely. The woman must be able to speak freely. This is why it's so important, if possible, if feasible, to be counseled by a husband and wife team. So if there needs to be a split where the wife goes with the woman and the husband goes with the man, so they can speak freely and come together and put together the counseling package to help the foundation of the relationship, I think that is critical. Okay? So we're going to pick up there next week with these other 2 points here of what is premarital counsel. What is premarital counseling? My final thought or wrap-up thought for this beautiful, beautiful Friday. Premarital counsel, I believe, is critical to every relationship. And my thought is this: with a weak foundation, it makes it very hard to build a home. Premarital counseling or premarital class allows you to build a strong foundation so that you can build a strong home. All right, guys, enjoy your weekend. Don't forget, catch me on Sunday. We are doing our virtual opening service, and you don't want to miss it. Streaming at 8 o'clock a.m., 10 a.m., noon, and 6 p.m. Streaming on Facebook, YouTube, and you can grab the link from Instagram. You'll see it when you go on the story. I'll see you guys on Sunday, and we will catch up next Friday on the Faith Unbuttoned podcast. Let's go.